So, you've probably heard this idea, right? That you can only really have about 150 friends. It's a super famous number that supposedly defines our social world. But what if that number isn't actually true? Well, today we're going to dig into the real story, and it reveals something honestly pretty incredible about how our brains organize not just our friends, but pretty much everything. I mean, we've all felt it, haven't we? You're scrolling through social media, you see all these connections, and you kind of wonder, is there a real, a biological limit to how many people we can actually know and care about? It's a great question. And for a long, long time, this was the answer everyone gave. 150. That's the one. It's called Dunbar's number, and it's been sold as this magic figure, the absolute max number of stable relationships our brains can supposedly handle. Okay, so where did this number even come from? It's not just random. The answer actually goes back to this really powerful idea about our evolution, something called the social brain hypothesis. The core idea is actually pretty simple. It goes like this. The bigger a primate's neocortex, that's the part of the brain that does all the heavy lifting, the complex thinking, the bigger its social group tends to be. So an anthropologist named Robin Dunbar took that idea, looked at the data for humans, looked at the size of our neocortex, and crunched the numbers, and bam, that's where he landed on that magic number, 150. But here's the thing, it's not just about one big blob of 150 people. The theory is actually way more elegant than that. It suggests our social world is organized in these beautiful concentric circles. Yeah, kind of like ripples in a pond. And each one of those layers represents a different level of friendship, And each one needs a different amount of your time and your mental energy. And what's wild is how consistent these layers seem to be. Right at the very center, you've got about 5 people. These are your shoulders to cry on friends, your absolute core support group. Move out one layer and you get about 15 good friends. Then you've got a bigger circle of maybe 50 casual friends. And finally, you get to that full 150, your whole network of meaningful contacts. It feels right, doesn't it? It makes a lot of sense. But here comes the plot twist. That really elegant model, it might have a problem. What if that core number, 150, isn't nearly as solid as we've all been led to believe? Because recently, some scientists went back, they re-examined all the data, and, they found some pretty serious cracks in the foundation. So, in 2021, a big study came out. They took all that original primate data and reanalyzed it with modern statistical tools. And their conclusion? It was blunt. They basically said that trying to pick out any single magic number for our social limit is, and I'm quoting them here, futile. Ouch. And this is why they said it. Just look at these numbers. If you look at the confidence intervals over on the right, you can see the issue right away. Instead of getting a nice, neat answer around 150, the math shows our group size could be as low as 4 or 5 people, or as high as 520. I mean, with a range that absolutely massive, the idea of one single magic number it completely falls apart. So the takeaway is pretty straightforward. The actual statistical evidence for exactly 150 is, it's surprisingly weak. It really seems like our complex human culture and all our social tools mean you can't just plot us on the same simple graph as other primates. We're a bit more complicated than that. Okay, but hold on. This doesn't mean we should throw the whole idea out the window. Not at all. Because even if that big outer number, 150, is kind of fuzzy, the research is super consistent about something else. What's happening at the very core of our social lives? Actually, Robin Dunbar himself always stressed how important this innermost circle is. That core group of about 5 people, that's where we pour most of our time and our emotional energy. And those relationships, they are absolutely crucial for our mental and even our physical health. So you see, even if the number 150 is up for debate, the pattern is what's really important. This idea of a layered social world, that totally holds up, especially that small, stable core. It really seems like our brains are just wired to prioritize a few really deep connections over a ton of shallow ones. Okay, and this is where the story gets really, really cool. What if that layered pattern we see with our friends isn't just for friends? What if it's a fundamental way our brain organizes other super complex things like our language? So, researchers recently came up with this incredible idea. They called it an ego network of words. It's the same concept, but instead of organizing people by how close you are to them, this model organizes the words you use by how often you use them. So the words you use all the time are right there in the center, and the words you barely ever use are way out on the edges. And this is the mind-blowing part. Just look at this. On the left, you see the pattern for our social circles. And on the right, that's the pattern for our personal vocabulary. The similarity it's uncanny. It's like our brain is running the exact same software, the same strategy, to manage two totally different parts of our lives. I mean, the parallels are just striking. Both systems use these layers, and they're both organized by frequency, how often you talk to a friend or how often you use a word. But here's the kicker, the most incredible part. The scaling ratio. That's how much bigger each layer gets as you move out. It's almost identical for both. It's like finding the same fingerprint at two different crime scenes. It's a cognitive fingerprint. So where does this leave us? What does all this mean? Well, it completely shifts our focus away from some simple fixed number and points us towards something much, much bigger, a profound universal pattern. So the real story here, the big takeaway, isn't about the number 150. It's about this beautiful, incredibly efficient pattern our brain uses to handle complexity, to deal with information overload. It doesn't matter if it's people or words, our brain just automatically sorts them into this predictable, layered system to make a really complex world manageable. Think about it. The logic is simple, but it's so powerful. 1, our brains have limits. 2, to deal with those limits, they create these layered, hierarchical structures. 3, we see this pattern pop up in our social lives. And 4, we're now seeing that exact same pattern, that same fingerprint, in the way we organize and use language. And that leaves us with one last kind of exciting thought to chew on. If our brains use this fundamental pattern for our friends and for our words, what else are they quietly organizing in the background? You know, our projects, our memories, our hobbies, could they all be getting sorted into these same elegant, concentric circles without us even noticing? The answer might just be everything.